Ladies and gentlemen, we have action. We have live. We are live. It's working. It's working. I think we're live. It says we're live. I've got viewers tuning in right now, so that's a plus. Thank you so much for joining in. My name's Matt Bailey. I'm the National Ambassador for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society here in Australia, and I'm really proud to bring to you another virtual pub tonight. Virtual pub, this is our third big virtual pub. We've done some smaller ones over the last sort of 2.5-3 years. We've been doing these sort of virtual catch-ups with special guests, of course. Actually, no, we've been doing virtual guests, like having guests on the stream now for at least 3.5-4 years. But virtual pub really kicked off in 2020 during COVID for us to all come together on a Friday night and meet at the virtual pub. Tonight is a huge night. We've got some amazing guests joining us tonight. We've got a whole bunch of things coming up. I'm just going to bring up a few things just to go over to introduce the evening before I introduce our guests. So, virtual pub is back as it says on the screen. That's tonight. That's right now. If you're tuning in, there's a few things to be aware of. Make sure you've got your beer and snacks all sorted if you want. You are at the pub after all. And, of course, pub snacks are a requirement. And if also some of you, optionally, did pick up the 3 dram virtual set. This is an optional add-on. Of course, you don't have to have this set. We're going to discuss each whiskey as we go along tonight. But it's about just the informality of the evening is just a good chat with everyone as we go along. So that's where we're going to start. Today is also Outturn Day. So thank you everyone who tuned in for Outturn today, at midday today on the site. It was our first big Outturn of the day. Of course, a lot of the attention on things like 148.2, which is understandable, of course, but also don't miss out on things like you've seen maybe Malt of the Month. This amazing 13-year-old single cask that we released, Blooming Wildflowers. I've got that on the desk because I might have a dram of that later. However, there was some great casks on offer today. 23.77 sold out in a flash. So did 29.282. If you're not a member of the society, some of these codes might be gibberish to you, but if they're not, if you are, that's fine. But happy Outturn Day to you all nonetheless. February Outturn is, of course, all about wine and spice. It's about the relationship of wine casks in whiskey, the relationship of the wine industry to whiskey, if you like, as well, and all the things that go along with it. So it's an interesting issue for us exploring those things. There's a huge article written by Luke McCarthy from Oz Whiskey Review that is also on our site that didn't make the cut for Outturn, only because there was a lot of things still going on and we didn't quite make the deadline, but it means that there's some great online content to read as well. As I said, this is a huge issue for us because it's our third ever Australian whiskey bottled by the SMWS 148.2. 148.1 was a pair for everyone. That was October last year, October Outturn. We've now reached the point of 148.2, which is called Kirsch Me Quick. Now, there's also something to do with that bottling coming up later in this stream. It's also worth mentioning now that Unfiltered is also every month, and that Unfiltered issue 66 with the fantastic Ducati 851 for those who are motorcycling enthusiasts like myself on the cover. It's an issue that is out now on our website. Of course, make sure you're logged in to be able to access our monthly Unfiltered magazine. That is a member-only magazine. Now, tonight, I've got some giveaways to give away. That's a double. I'm giving away some prizes tonight. There are some prizes for non-members, those who are just joining up. There are some prizes for members, of course, tonight, because a lot of you are members tuning into Virtual Pub tonight. And we've got special guests lined up. We've got prizes, we've got giveaways, we've got live music. We've got a lot going on tonight. So I'm really glad you can join in and join us for this stream. It is a bit of a longer one, of course. No, ignore that. So we've got like I said, a bit of a longer stream tonight for Virtual Pub. We're all at the pub together. I'd say crack open a cold beer. I just grabbed a can myself and pour a dram. If you've got the dramming pack in front of you, you might want to join in with us as we go along, because we've got some special guests to taste these whiskeys with us tonight. However, before I get too far off track, on the screen right now, as you can see, is the SMWS 2021 Advent Calendar. It's 25 single cask whiskey samples in a huge box. It's valued at $399. I'm giving one of those away tonight. Now, if you join the society tonight, if you're thinking about joining and you want to join the society tonight, tonight's the night to do it, because I'm going to draw one of these off to give to someone. So I'll show it on screen now. There it is. SMWS offer. Use the code VirtualPub at checkout. You get $40 off any membership type, and you go in the draw to win this. Someone's going to take this home. It's sitting in my office. You can probably just see it behind me there. There's one of these advent calendars sitting in my office. 25 different single cask strength expressions from the society in the box to enjoy at your leisure. So I'm giving away that pack tonight. I'm also giving away a SMWS hip flask. That's going to one of the better looking setups on stream tonight. If someone takes a photo of their sort of home dramming setup for tonight's virtual pub, doesn't matter what you're drinking, post it on our Facebook group or post it online using the hashtag virtualpub22, hashtag virtualpub22. Starting soon. It's already started. Wrong hashtag. Wrong slide. Just post hashtag virtualpub22 and a photo of your home setup tonight. I'm also giving away a bottle of 148.2 Kirsch Me Quick. I'm actually giving a whole bottle away of this, valued at $210. It's on the ballot on today's Outturn. No one has this yet. There's a whiskey quiz coming up later on. Those who get the most answers correct on the whiskey quiz will, of course, win this bottle. That's cool. So I'm actually giving away Advent packs, hip flasks, dram packs, bottles, everything. Everything goes tonight. Now, I'm going to introduce our first couple of guests as we head into this next portion of the stream. So I'm just going to introduce them now. First of all, I want to introduce Katie Nagar. Katie is the national ambassador for Diageo and has agreed to join us and taste a few whiskeys with us on the stream tonight. There's Katie. She's going to join us in just a moment. She's all set up in the waiting room, so I won't leave her waiting too long. We're also going to be joined by our own cellar master and New South Wales state manager and chairman and Mr. The most knowledgeable Scotch whisky person I know in Australia, Andrew Durbidge, who is on the team at SMWS. The three of us are going to have a taste of 63.70. So if you have your pack with you, if you got one of these packs sent to you, one of these 3 dram packs that you bought off the site, they sold out pretty quick. We'll invite you to crack 63.70 plants on the windowsill in just a moment. I will talk a bit more about this pack, but I'll bring those two in just to have a chat with them both. And there's Katie and there's our cellar master, Andrew. So I'll bring them both in now. Bear with me just a second. 1, 2, 3. Katie, hello. I can't hear you just yet. Just check that audio setting again. And still no luck. That's still no luck. We'll get that. It was working just a second ago. Whatever's changed in the halfway between there. You're not muted on this end. I'll bring in Andrew as well. See what he's up to. Andrew.
Hi.
Hey, how you going? We can hear you. Yes.
Right.
I'll take you. Oh, there you are, Katie. Got you.
Amazing.
Okay. So good to have you both in. Thank you so much for joining in on Virtual Pub.
Pleasure to be here.
Do you have a cold beer at least? Do you have something? It's a Friday night. Do you have something, a refreshing ale somewhere nearby, maybe?
I've got the whiskey ready. I was getting straight into it.
You're ahead of me here. You're ahead of me. That's fine. I don't know which order these are packed into the box, but I'm going to unpack these now. So these are these samples that have been sent out as part of the Virtual Pub 2022. We're going to have a taste of these tonight and just have our thoughts on them and have a taste through and explore them a bit, explore the flavor profiles and the tasting notes. It should just be a bit of fun. So plants on the windows.
Give me 2 ticks, Matt. I'll be right back in 1 second.
Yeah, you're right. I think he's getting a cold beer. I think that idea just set him off there. Katie, welcome to the stream anyway.
Thank you.
I think this is the second society stream, or at least the second tasting we've done virtually together.
We did. I believe we did one with whiskey and ailments a while back. You guys had some amazing stuff from Clanleish Distillery.
What a night! What a night, and what a distillery.
Yeah, absolutely.
We use the code 26 at the society. We wouldn't use the word Clanleish. We wouldn't dare. But it's the society members do love their 26s.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring the chat overlay up on screen so people can ask questions and throw things in here. So there we go. I meant to do that just a moment ago. There's so many comments coming in. Sorry, I've missed already about 120, 130 comments. Sorry, but we'll get through them all. Yes. And Matt Willer's asking, can he have the shirt that I'm wearing as a giveaway? I mean, it is literally a fresh shirt. It's a fresh monogram shirt. So yes, someone can have that. It's
the shirt off your back.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with that advent calendar. I'm going to be honest, as someone that definitely grew up with advent calendars, little chocolates or whatever it was going to be. That's a much more impressive offering. And
yeah, absolutely.
Advent calendar. There he is.
I'm back. Of all things, the thing I left out, the glass. You need a glass to drink whiskey.
Yeah. So lots of comments coming in. We're going to taste 63.70 for those playing along at home. So Katie, whilst we pour this dram and have a nose of it, can you give us a bit of a rundown of what your role entails at Diageo? What's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so I am the national whiskey ambassador, as well as there's in recent times been a whole other division open called Prestige as well. So as I'm sure most of our whiskey aficionados on the call are aware, Diageo is the world's largest spirit business. In particular, Scotch whiskey is their wheelhouse. We produce over 1/3 of the world's Scotch. It's some big numbers up there. I know you guys work quite closely with us doing some amazing independent bottlings of our classic malt distilleries. Currently 28 active distilleries in Scotland means if you love Scotch whiskey, it is a pretty great company to work for. So it's a bit of a loaded question, my day-to-day, because I'm going to say that it's changed quite a bit. From when I started working as a national brand ambassador until now. We used to do a lot more live events, as I'm sure you're used to, Matt.
Didn't we all?
Didn't we all? Exactly. So it's kind of divided in between doing stuff for guests, customers, everyday folks, where we'd be hosting tastings, almost like we're doing tonight, except for maybe in person. A lot of it is working with bars and restaurants across Australia. Again, kind of upskilling and educating hospitality professionals, maybe helping doing a drink consultancy, whiskey cocktails, and then just kind of the internal ins and outs of the business. Things have changed quite a bit. We've been really shifting and doing quite a bit of virtual stuff, as I can tell you have, because you've got like the whole like at-home disc jockey setup going on, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, we've been doing lots of really like high impact kind of content, particularly around launches that are kind of our more luxury sector. And it's really interesting. It's been a whole new skill set. I'm sure we all have kind of grown up presenting as brand ambassadors, but presenting to a live audience versus creating filmed content in studio, totally different. Got to read the teleprompter. You've got to have 2 people on screen because, you know, as much as it's fun to listen to one person in person, you need a couple of people to bounce off of. And yeah, we've been doing heaps of content like that. Thankfully, managing to get some live events in. But I honestly think virtual stuff's going to live on for quite a while. I mean, it is a way to connect people from all across Australia, all over the world, doing events where we have people phone in from Scotland, from the distilleries themselves. So there are definitely some bonuses still to be had by doing virtual format stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this whole sort of like, as you remarked on this sort of setup that I've got here, it's you know, it is now quite complicated. It started quite simply as just like sort of laptop and a webcam, but it's as it's grown, as we've had to adapt over the last 2.5 years now of I mean, even just producing content before the pandemic was just about, you know, doing what you could with what you had, and then growing that base and saying, like, you know, there's an opportunity here for us to engage with our members and engage with the whiskey drinking audience that are enjoying us even right now. There's dozens of people watching right now enjoying what we're talking about. So why not?
Yeah, and I've seen comments going up saying love virtual events, no hassle of leaving your house, and It is. You know, you graciously gave me one of the packs for tonight. I went up my front porch, opened the mailbox, and there it was. So
Yeah.
it does take a lot of the effort out of, you know, getting out of your PJs and off the sofa. You can just tune in from the comfort of your home and still have an experience where you're connecting with people and drinking great whiskey.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, I'm getting our producers here are giving me some hints that it might be my audio that's feedbacking on people. So I'm just going to switch to headphones for a second. All right.
See how we go. It's also worth mentioning, as Matt Wooler mentioned as a public comment here. Oh no, that was the other comment, football or something in the room. Yeah, there's a room actually. If you want to join in and watch the stream live with some friends in the Facebook group, there's actually a Facebook group room that our own team member Adam has set up on our Facebook community. Just check out Scotch Malt Whisky Society Australia and jump in that room, and you can watch along this stream with friends as well tonight. So it's like we're actually at the pub even more so.
Now that I've adopted the Princess Leia look here, has that helped the echo, the feedback? Has that gone away now?
I think so. I think so. I'm getting less feedback now, but I think it was mostly Wooler commenting on that. I think that Princess Leia look does suit you though.
I tell you, well, I mean, if you're going to get big headphones, you may as well get big headphones. These are car strength headphones, basically.
Car strength headphones. Scotch Down Under. Scott Fitzsimon says shots? ? Maybe. Rob Akers says daily Bailey streams are a savior during lockdown. Yeah, daily is quite taxing, but it was good fun. And please keep doing virtual events from Scotch Down Under. Good to see you. How do you get your name shown up again? We're on Restream, so you might need to get Restream to allow Facebook to see your name on the stream. And of course, please use the hashtag virtualpub22, as I've said before. But what we're going to do now is we're going to taste this next whiskey and have some feedback on it and have a chat about it. So 63.70 plants on the windowsill. It's a 8-year-old in the sweet, fruity, and mellow profile, a second fill ex-bourbon barrel, single cask, 62.0%. Quite a brisk one to start with. Why not?
Why not, indeed.
It's quite earthy on the nose to begin with, that one.
It isn't. I poured this 5-10 minutes ago, and it's been obviously open for a while and breathing. It's really coming to life. It was closed to start with, but is coming.
Let that open a bit more. So, Katie, what are you looking forward to this year? What does it look like for you coming up?
So, like I was mentioning earlier, hopefully the echo's not me. Is that okay?
No, I think we're good.
So as I was mentioning earlier, Diageo is actually really focusing on a kind of new division within the company that we're calling Rare and Exceptional. So for some of our whiskey fans out there, you might be familiar with special releases. That used to be an 8 to 10 bottle collection we would do each year of some of our most rare and exclusive offerings from within the portfolio. Now, we're going to continue to do that. What you'll notice is that in the past special releases, maybe 9 out of the 10 were really phenomenal whiskeys, but then that 10th bottle would be a 5,000 to 6,000 pound, 37-year-old Port Ellen. So it didn't quite fit within the same scope of the others. So what we've been doing of late is actually really allowing those special products to have their own kind of, thunder around them. So we're really pushing to have amazing whiskeys on their own individual releases and let them shine in the light that they need to. So a lot of new stuff is coming through to Australia. We are now one of the top 10 markets for Scotch whiskey in the world, which thank you guys out there, all of our Scotch whiskey fans. Because of your support, it means that we're able to get really rare and exclusive releases down here more than we ever have been before. So we've got a 54-year-old Singleton coming in the pipeline. We had a 43-year-old Talisker line this year, which is pretty amazing. Special releases coming through in March. We've got a 48-year-old Johnny Walker blends that's coming in, like some really amazing older age statement, spectacular whiskeys. Definitely make things pretty exciting.
Yeah. Katie, can I ask a really nerdy question? Because
Sure.
Everything you just said then got me excited. The Singleton. Now, of course, there is no distillery Singleton.
That's it.
Can you share which distillery that Singleton release is from?
So that's from Glen Ord. And to be honest, you will see Singleton released from all 3 distilleries, particularly within special releases. But when it comes to a lot of our older releases from Singleton, it's usually coming from the Glenore distillery. And Maureen Robinson is the primary custodian of that distillery, and she is an absolute powerhouse in the whiskey industry. So she kind of is very much at the forefront of some of our older age statement stuff that's coming out and nurturing those casks over long periods of time. So she's got an exceptional palate, and she's looking after that particular release.
Awesome. There's a few comments coming up on the screen with people who are actually tasting this and making some observations, and I agree with all of them. And Mr. Wool has chimed in there with creamy and rich, and yeah, boy, it's all that, isn't it?
You know what? This just reminds me of a conversation I had with a member literally earlier today, where we're saying that you know, don't worry too much about what we call, you know, sort of the superstar codes that have sort of big marketing and brands behind them, and focus in on the flavor profiles and tasting notes, because you can miss out on things like this that, like, I mean, I wouldn't have bought that even just on name alone, but once I've tasted it, it's like, that's incredibly creamy, rich, and earthy and interesting.
You know what I love about this distillery, and actually, sorry, Katie, there's an irony here, but we're dealing with a distillery that's not your portfolio, and
that's okay. just don't tell anybody I work for. It's all good.
That's right. Indeed, it belongs to the other guys, but and I hope I'm up to date here. But from memory, the company that owns this one owns 13 distilleries, and this is the last of the distilleries where they've still got everything working. A lot of the Shivers Brothers distilleries are now completely automated and mechanized. But they appreciate that they're, you know, if the computer breaks down and they've got to resort to manual, their distillery workers obviously need to know how to actually do things the old-fashioned way. And this is the one distillery where they've kept all the I guess the old mechanized equipment that they all cut their teeth into. And you know, that's a little bit of a nerdy bit there for the actual operations of the distillery, and it kind of detracts from the fact that it's actually a wonderful working distillery that makes fantastic spirit, and we're enjoying some of it right now. What I think is also impressive, you know, we talk. There's been a lot. I got to say, can I just, Matt? I wrote something in Whiskey and Wisdom recently, and of course, in this February's Outturn, we both put a lot of work into talking about the influence of casks and wood and all the rest of it. And it's certainly the theme of our February Outturn. And I don't know whether we jumped the gun or everyone was following, but there's been a lot of other blogs and writers and magazine pieces that have all followed on the tail of that, talking about oak and cask maturation and the role of wood. And, you know, the subtext has been in a lot of that, you know, you get your maximum flavor from your first fill casks and all the rest of it, or you need time to go the distance. And I think it's extraordinary that this is only 8 years old and it's a second fill cask. Yeah. So you'd expect the influence of the oak to be a bit more behind, I suppose, and less developed. And yet you would never pick this as A, being necessarily young, and B, being a second fill cask. So you know, a fantastic compliment there to the spirit and to the quality of the wood. And let's say it, we'll pat our own backs here. You know, well done to the tasting panel in the UK who picked this one out.
I was going to say the same thing. I was quite surprised when I tried this because it does not drink like an 8-year-old. And it's even actually quite, for me, surprising. On the nose, I got a lot of florals in kind of more top notes. So I was expecting it not to have that almost kind of buttery, creamy richness and depth on the palate. But, you know, that's what I love about whiskey. There's so many surprises. What you expect to be drinking quite young to be kind of more top note floral, all of a sudden it's got a whole nother dimension on the palate. It's exceptional. I'm like you, Matt. Plants on the windowsill wouldn't necessarily draw me in, and no. I wouldn't say it's inaccurate when you taste it, but there's a lot more going on.
I think Susie and I have a theory that bottling names that have plants, the word plant or the word salad in it, aren't very popular, but they often produce fantastic whiskies.
Well, they say you don't win friends with salad, right? I mean,
you don't make friends with salad, exactly. There's some great member tasting notes coming through. I love this one, Christmas trifle leftovers. That's fantastic. I totally get where you're coming with that one. And Andrew Moat saying strawberry and cream lollies on the nose. Yeah, I like those little red and white ones from the bag of lollies at the local fair kind of thing.
It reminds me a little of like I think because of the butteriness, almost like when you've got pancakes with that nice like melting kind of whipped butter on top.
Yeah,
the syrup.
That I'm just winding the conversation back. That comment a moment ago about friends with salad. That's a really good point. You both might recall that new distillery in Scotland, Glen Vegan, did not last long at all.
Good old Glen Vegan. I believe it was right up the road from Glen Bagpipe, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Glen Bagpipe's everywhere, man.
And Glen Wonka. Don't forget Glen
Hey,
Wonka.
good to have Andrew Mote here. Andrew, say good day to Dad for me, will you?
Oh, there he is, yes. Save that name for a whiskey. And David Gilk's comment here. Yeah, that's great. What a whiskey. Floral, milk, chocolate, Turkish delight.
The Turkish delight's a good call there. There's definitely a rosewater note that I'm getting, and it's not sickly or cloying, which I think is fantastic. Katie, out of interest, are you based there at the office at North Sydney?
No, so I'm actually in the office. We've got an Alexandria currently.
Okay.
But to be frank, like I'm mostly at home these days. The whole working from home deal. So behind the keyboard in the daytime, and then now we're moving back into hosting events. And I actually after this and jetting off, we're doing a Lunar New Year dinner. So there's some awesome stuff in the works. Coming on for the Lunar New Year with Johnny Walker, and we've been doing lots of events with some of our clientele, which is pretty amazing.
That's quite a back bar. That's quite awesome going on behind you as well. I'd have to zoom in just for a second to see what's going on here.
Not bad. There's always quite a bit of bottles kicking about in the office, which is again one of the perks of working for a spirit business.
Indeed, yeah.
Unfortunately, though, no cold frothies in the fridge. That's the other. I was looking. I was like, oh man, is there a tinny in there? Nope. So, So like you said before, you hosting in-person events is starting to come back again, as we're also starting to see with us as well. And does that involve a fair bit of travel for you again, or? It will in time. We actually had quite, as I think a lot of people did, big plans around the New Year time. So I was going to be traveling a bit for events. That's all been kind of pushed back until March. I mean, we're all just kind of a wait and see basis, but we were planning on doing a big Lunar New Year launch. It's not going to be as big as we intended with a room full of 100 plus people. So instead we've opted to have kind of smaller dinners. So 25 people at a time, just again, always want to keep people safe, but also don't want to miss out on the opportunity to get people in the room and drink some amazing whiskey. I think we're all pretty hungry for that these days. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know we are, and we've just had that sort of 2-year gap, if you like, that blink and you miss it sort of gap of tastings. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. I lie in bed sometimes, and all of a sudden you start thinking about some of the stuff that you normally rattle off at a tasting, and I'm now dreaming about hosting events again. It's
Darren Howie says, perfect example of a sleeper. Absolutely. This is my comment before about those, people always hunting out, superstar codes. When you look at casks like this that are just so rich and creamy and interesting, and just a fascinating spirit, and you wouldn't pick it. That's lovely. Well, Katie, I know you've got a dinner to get off to, and I just want to thank you so much for jumping in the stream with us and having a chat about everything you're working on, what you're doing, and we love bottling, of course, great casks from the distilleries that you represent at the Society regularly. So thank you again.
Oh, amazing. Thanks so much for having me. And anytime, I love jumping on, and especially getting to taste some of the stuff you guys are putting out. Thank you so much for sending me the kit. Even though we're tasting one together, I'm definitely going to take these 2 home and treat myself in a little while. So it's been an absolute pleasure to see you, and hopefully in person pretty soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've certainly got a few ideas in the wings for some tastings in Sydney this year, Katie, so I will be in touch, don't you worry.
Would love to. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, thanks everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Katie.
Bye.
Andrew, and just a huge thanks to Katie Nagar from Diageo for joining us just for a taste of a whiskey that's not even from her folio of distilleries, but I did not design the tasting around her being the first guest. I'll be honest. It was designed around just 3 interesting casks of very varied flavor profiles and very varied spirit types, which was the whole idea. But of course, there's a lot of people who don't have this pack tonight that are just joining in for the virtual pub aspect. And I said, we've got giveaways coming up, we've got prizes coming up, we've got live music coming up, and we've got other whiskeys coming up as well. I'm going to leave the chat scrolling on the screen. For the meantime, I might drop that whilst we have the live music on. but I'll leave it on for now, and we can go from there. I'll just see some of these other comments coming in. They're all superstar codes, Matt. Yes, thank you, Rob. You very well articulated, and indeed, we'll see you in a bit for that second dram. And the next 24 should be called a tofu lover attends a vegan feast. That might slow it down a bit. I don't think so. I don't know if that one would work. And
you're assuming that people actually even read that, don't they? Just see the digit 24 and go start salivating. Like,
a digit 24 in deep, rich, and dried fruits.
Name is irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. Land Rover says getting real spiced chai note on the nose with the spices, sweetness, and earthiness. Spiced chai note's a good one. Good to see you, Land Rover. It's been a while. Does Katie have a social media for info and events, etc.? I don't. I think she does. She posts on Instagram and elsewhere fairly prolifically. So
I think there's that distinction between like a lot of us, the personal account, and then the one actually for the brand. So yeah.
Good call. And how long is the pub going to be open for? We're going to be open for a few hours. We've got a bit of live music coming up. We've got other drams to taste. It's at least from 7 till 10 tonight. See how we go. 3 or 4 hours or something like that. And 29.xxx vegan kippers from Isla. Yeah, I like that. That one might slow a 29 down as well. No, that's an Inverhouse distillery coming up in 48. Not that we really focus on the distillery or the parent of that distillery. Yeah, there we go. You talked me into it. Plants on the windowsill is in the cart.
It's actually a good point, Matt. And if this was any other tasting, we'd probably not venture into this territory. But hey, it's virtual pub, so we're down the pub, and if you're at the pub, you can talk about anything, right?
About nonsense, exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's talk nonsense. But one of the things I truly, truly love in this industry is everyone's in it together, and you can have your Diageo and your Shivers Brothers and your Inverhouse and all the rest of it, and when you talk to the people in Scotland and you get over there, there's not really a sense of competition. There's not really a sense of us and them. I think one of the things I really love about this industry is everyone's all in it together. I think we all appreciate that's what's good for the category is good for everyone in the category. And if sales of Scotch whiskey are going up around the world, well, everyone benefits from that. And I know my good friends at Glenfarclas talk about their friendly neighbours up the road and the like, and they'll talk in those terms. But it's amazing, and we've all heard the wonderful stories on Isla where some distillery runs into trouble, part of their kit breaks down, or there's a problem, and the other distilleries send the workers over to help, and all the rest of it. It really is a wonderful, dare I say, ecumenical community. So we can joke and make some comments here about we're tasting stuff that's not part of Katie's portfolio, but my experience has been that's really neither here nor there. If we're talking about good Scotch, I think everyone's happy to wave the flag for everyone else. And come on, is that not what the society is about? We've been doing that since 1983. Championing all the other brands.
Yeah, absolutely, and offering a different insight into those styles, and that's why so many of the distilleries like working with the society is because we champion their spirit in a very different way, and that's a plus for it. That's plus for us and plus for them.
Yeah, except for Glenvegan, I did knock that one back, but
No, that's all right. Yeah, there's some great comment here. Some wonderful insights from Katie. Awesome choice of guests. Thank you so much. And Sweet says Scotch Down Under. Like you've got anywhere else to go, it's fine. I mean, it's just chill on a Friday night. It's fine. Grab a cold one and join us. Yeah, and this is a great comment from Mark. As a whiskey lover, you'd certainly miss out if you got stuck on a brand. I do see some whiskey drinkers get stuck on brands before, and they're sort of like, "Oh, I only buy whiskey from this distillery or this bottler or something." And you're like, "Well,
is that still a thing? Do you reckon, Matt? I mean, I know 30, 40 years ago that was absolutely a thing.
I'm talking like really stuck on sort of loyalty for certain things. It's like I did speak to someone recently who only buys whiskey from one certain country. It wasn't Scotland, and that's like they only buy whiskey from that country. It's like, oh, okay, well that seems like you're limiting your choices there a bit. I'll jump in on more of these comments. There's quite a few coming in, but we're also going to bring in our next guests. One guest of which is having some internet trouble, so we'll see how he's going. But Andrew, if you want to stay along with us for this next segment, I'd love you to, because it actually is, of course, it's almost like a state manager meetup. So I'm going to bring in Morsey, and I'm going to bring in Tom Roth. It's the New South Wales, Victoria, Tas contingent here.
I refuse to be in a live tasting where AD is present, so we have a contract. No one told me I'm a rider.
I can't believe I have to. I can't believe I have to say this again, Morsey, but you're fired again. I can't believe
every
again.
time.
Every time.
Yeah. I don't know how.
I mean, once per session. I'm not doing the job. That's
I don't know how it looks on your screen, but right now I'm above you, Morsey, and I'm really happy with that. That's fine.
You are, mate. On my screen, you are as well. Yeah.
And look, let's be honest, it kind of reflects the New South Wales Victorian relationship.
I know my place.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh wow.
Oh, good to be back at Virtual Pub, gents. Great,
yeah, welcome back.
Great dram selection, going very well so far.
Yeah, it's good fun. I want to just bring you in and have a chat about what the year looks like ahead for you, because you've got some big plans for members this year. But before I jump into that question, Tom Roth, are you with us? Earth calling Tom. I'm gonna leave. Oh, look at this. Okay, so we don't have video on Tom, but that's okay. We've got his audio. Welcome, Tom. Yeah, good. You're on famous Tasmanian internet, I presume. Yeah.
No, the guinea pig, mate. They got NBN before everyone. That should be high speed down in Tas.
Nope, I think.
Darren. Yeah, no, mate. I'm actually without my sort of now iconic tasting hat of any kind. But I'm here, and to you, Wooler, mate, you're referring to one particular time where I think it was StreamYard or whatever it was at the time we were using, depleted about 90% of my battery in 5 minutes, and I was at Whisky and Ailment ready to do a live, and you had to carry the can. So I still owe you for that. But yes, full internet tonight.
Someone jumped on a bit late and missed Katie's chat. That's okay. Look, you can watch this stream later. It's going to be on our YouTube and on our Facebook page and group after this anyway. There you go. Some great comments coming in. They're saying thank you everyone for joining in on. No audio for Tom either coming through. Oh, okay. We can hear Tom, but that's all right. We'll some people are struggling to hear Tom tonight as well as can't see him.
It was a comment from Alistair Chong. Nice to see you, mate. It's been absolutely ages since we caught up. But love from Tassie, well, where you are, and love from Melbourne, where I am.
Also, huge shout out to SMWS Danish branch, who have got their festival at the moment. I've been watching the photos come in from the Danish festival over the last couple of days, and as every year I see it, it's one of those things where you go, if I could be in Denmark right now, because their festival always looks absolutely insane. I mean, they pull out the big guns, they pull out, and I know Andrew doesn't like this phrase, but they pull out the paper label era stuff. They pull out all sorts of Vaults collection releases. They pull out all sorts of things going on. Oh, we're getting a bit of that audio feedback again. I'm not sure what's changed here. That's okay. So yeah, big shout out to whoever that said that, Slansha from SMVS Denmark Festival. Fantastic. Ian Scott, good to see you, Ian. Hope you're well. Oh, no, let's try that again. There we go.
Hey, Ian. Nice to see you.
Yeah, we've lost Tom a bit there, but that's okay. He's just going to try and jump back in. We'll keep him on the screen there. So, Alex, tell us what's coming up for you this year. What are you looking at? I'm going to ask Andrew the same question.
Yeah, so I suppose for us, Matt, it's COVID and all that. I don't know if I missed the absolute beginning of this. I'm not sure if the C word's banned from tonight's festivities. But given
yes, you're not allowed to say Klein Leash.
Yeah, but absolutely. We're not. I assume Andrew name anything as per normal rules.
The really nasty C word right now is the freaking cardigan you're wearing. But anyway,
here we go. Let's kick it off. Well, if I had my hat, AD, I would be a lot more empowered to fight back against you. But I'm just going to take it because I don't. Now, given the old Victorian issues, and probably, I don't want to be the broken record saying Victorians have probably had it the hardest over the last 2 years with what we've had, and events have been frustrated. I can say to Melbourne members watching, it's going to be a great year. I think we sort of went hard in the gaps we could find in the last 12 months of, like a really special Outturn lunch, all the bells and whistles. We had a couple of good we had a festival event in there and a couple of other festivities around Isla Festival, Scottish Festival month. But yeah, 2022 is going to be the same, but amplified, like making up for lost time. So we've got a couple of really special targeted events. I'm not going to say too much, Matt, just because I'll keep them guessing until events are launched. But some smaller format, back to the old sort of 5 dram sit-down dinner events, really accessible, great ticket price style tastings with a couple of special guests and additions, as well as just having some really special format events like, your cruises and your trains and just a really innovative look at doing whiskey tastings. So all of it's on the cards. Fingers crossed it'll all happen, but the agenda will be great. Melbourne members watching can plan for the first 2 weeks of March will be announced soon, but that'll be an absolute banging event. And really celebrating sort of, maybe I could say, Matt, pairing interesting alternative pairings with whiskey as opposed to your normal food pairings, like a real sort of innovative look at what you can match with whiskey to enhance it. And then into the festival month of May, onwards from there, we're going to have some really big, great events like, the ones we got in last year will replicate, and the ones we missed, we'll put in for this year. It's going to be good.
So after you taking the reins of Vic, state manager in early 2020/late 2019, you can actually host your events now.
Yeah, exactly.
After 2 years of sitting on your hands upon starting. Good.
That's right. Assume one a month ish. I've probably got, circa 30 events in the backlog. So expect them over the next, I'll stretch it for 18 months, but okay. we'll double down.
Okay, cool. Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm going to see how Tom's going. Tom, are you holding up all right? Have we lost him again? I think we've lost. He's turned back into a black square again for me. That's right. We wanted to see how he was going, see how if he's in the stream and working out. So, Andrew, tell us what can members. There he is. We can hear you, but you've turned into a black square on the video again. That's okay. These things happen.
Do you want me to answer that, Matt, or if we've got Tom online, why don't we? If he's there still,
I'm not sure we do. Tom, hold your horses for a second. I want to hear Andrew.
You want to hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3.
1, 2.
Well, look, to answer your question, I'm going to echo what Alex just said. We've got a lot of catch up to do. Sydney used to have, amazing events, and we did what we could through the lockdowns and restrictions and limitations. But I feel like I've got to make up for lost time. And it's all kicking off in 3 weeks with a fantastic whiskey dinner with the man himself, Fran Schura, and Mark Jensen at Red Lantern, putting together an extraordinary night. It's going to kick off there. And then, look, a bit like, as Alex was suggesting, I think through the year, obviously, Sydney's quite unique in that it's the largest state for our members. And, if you put the right event on, you can have 120, 130 people sign up for it. So what I want to do is mix and match through the year and have, the bigger events, the more traditional sort of banquet sit-down ones that might be for 80 to 100 people. But I really want to also sleeve into the calendar just some more intimate events that might be for 20 or 40. I've got a couple of themes in mind, but can I just tell you, just taking my state manager hat off for a moment and putting on the Cellar Master one, our shelves are full with some unbelievably great whiskey right now. We have so much stock and releases that I'll tell you now, you're not going to see on Outturn. We have some amazing whiskeys that just there's stuff that we bring in that we need to put on Outturn, and there's stuff we bring in that we just keep for events. And there's some amazing stuff that I intend to farm out to all the state managers for events this year. And so, if you really do want to get the maximum benefit of your membership, make sure you get along to your local events. Some themes in mind, some particular tastings coming up. Obviously, Matt, I'm going to shine light on you here. I mean, this is something you were very active with, but team up with other partners and businesses and mobs that we can do things with, such as pairing up with the beer mobs for Boilermaker nights and the like. Try and keep things like that going. We've done it before in Sydney. In fact, I'll be honest and say I think the society led the way in this country with doing things like whiskey and chocolate pairings, whiskey and cheese pairings, whiskey and coffee, whiskey and gelato, whiskey and all sorts of things. About the only thing we haven't done is whiskey and cigars, but that probably comes down to my view on smoking. But anyway, but yeah, all those things and more is what we have in plan for the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's really exciting times too, Matt. Just to jump on something Andrew said, I think go back and Andrew knows this a lot better than I do, but 5 years, 7 years, whatever it is, the pairing world was less. There was a lot more emphasis on just whiskey being whiskey. People were maybe starting to discover single malt even back that far, 10 years, as opposed to blends. And there was a lot of just emphasis on rediscovery of the category. And now we've sort of come out the end of that and people are, there's enough of an educated community on that. And people are now going, well, I love this product. How do I enhance that experience? And so a lot more people who talk to me certainly are, and Jatan's an event. I mean, the chocolate events that we've run, people are asking, when do we do the next event, which is pairing an experience type element with whiskey because it enhances my drinking experience. And I think I love that because, I mean, my particular thing is food, just foodie and all that, love the pairings of food and chocolate, whatever it may be. But as Andrew says, even cigars or whatever you want to pick, if it enhances your experience of the drink and you can make an event out of it, then amazing. And you're probably doing that at home already. You're drinking a red wine along with a particular wine cask whiskey, or you're having a meal with some whiskey, or you're smoking a stogie after a whiskey, whatever. It's already sort of going on in a private sense. And we're bringing that out. And, I'm excited as well as you, AD, for the beer pairings, which are more curated. Krishna's chocolate pairings are always very well curated. It just absolutely is amazing where if you think you will like it, but you can't replicate it at home, and someone like an expert, like a chocolatier or a beer maker can help you, amazing experience. So I think, 2022 is the experiences pairing year for me, for sure.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was one of those moments that Andrew and I had was like just last year in one of the virtuals was with Krishna from Basic. The
gosh.
Basic pairing where it's just like I thought in my head at first, like, because he actually didn't send me like the pack in advance. I sent him the whiskeys like months ahead and said, okay, here's the whiskey. And he said, all sorted. And he messaged me back like 4 weeks after he got them and said, okay, I've created each one. And he'll say something to me like, oh, this one is a curvature with Indonesian beef fat as one of the ingredients or something. And I'll be like, dude, like you've gone into this next realm of ingredient lists here. And you're like, yeah, I had to import this from Guam or something. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, and he'll say, like it was so much more expensive, but it doesn't matter. Like it's got to be right. I'm like that's
and AD, like you on that tasting, because I watched that tasting from home, and obviously Matt, you and AD did that tasting live, and just hearing some of the AD comments and your comments, Matt, resonate because it is absolutely until you know, you don't know, and then you have something like that, like a really curated product, and suddenly it's so revealing that wow, like I couldn't create a Indonesian beef fat chocolate at home.
Yeah.
How would I know that it's so good with a whiskey until this happens?
Exactly.
And then, it's an experience you get presented with and you go, wow, like there was no other way for me to create this. And I've now been given it and I love it.
No, it's wild.
A great point on that. And thank you, Rod Akers, for reminding me. But a couple of years ago, we had a whiskey and bread evening. And this is funny. Like it's in some ways this breaks my heart, and in other ways I enjoy it. But the billing went out for this event, whiskey and bread, and you got to be honest, doesn't sound the most exciting thing, right? And it was not a sellout event. In fact, it was very undersubscribed, and we turned up to this, the Brasserie and Bread, fantastic people. Turned up to their venue there and had the most extraordinary night. Also now probably one of the best ever whiskey and pairings we've ever had. an extraordinary night in flavor discovery and learning a bit about, just the basics. And people forget bread is made from cereal. Whiskey is made from cereal. It's a bit more intense than just, bread, And I don't know if people were expecting us to serve Johnny Walker and Tip Top White Loaf, but it really got fantastic. And it was the most extraordinary evening. The food was unbelievable. The whiskey matching was perfect. And as I say, one of the best ever nights we ever had. And just as you just touched on, Alex, if you've not done it before, if you've not experienced it, and to use Franz Schurer's words, if you've not experienced that 1 + 1 = 3, you don't know. So I would encourage anyone to get along to a pairing night if it's being held in your local city.
I think, Andrew, just quickly on that as well, you've nailed a really important point, which is some of the things that pair really well are probably, unless you're in tasting where they're presented in a certain way, are considered quite basic, like bread or chocolate or beer. If you're not, maybe I'm talking to the wrong audience, because maybe the viewers of this virtual pub are really deep into a category and are experienced in it. But if you're just talking to a punter on the street, to some people, like bread is just bread, and like beer is a beer. You have a beer, that's the end of it. Or like a chocolate, you have a bar of chocolate, right? And to us, it's sort of, we know there's a lot of variation in that because we're all flavor nerds. But then if you don't necessarily have that presented, as you say, on paper, maybe like whiskey and bread sounds like just two things being matched. But then you get to an event where it's curated, and suddenly not only do you experience an amazing variety and flavor of whiskey, which we're all about all the time, but then for that one night, you just get, wow, okay, bread is actually a much bigger category than I thought.
Yeah.
And so every time you go to a pairing, I think not only is it just about the whiskey, and I should be saying it's all about society whiskey, it is all about society whiskey, but it actually makes you a flavor file of like how good other categories of stuff can be, whether it's food, just whole meals, or it's chocolate, or it's bread, or it's beer. And so I'd just be saying to all members and everyone watching, like, if there's a pairing event, enjoy your whiskey by itself whenever you want, but jump on the pairing events because, you'll find a new world of a category you might otherwise not explore, for sure.
Well, one thing I'd add to there, Alex, you touched on what things were like in the past. What I can definitely remember, go back 20 years, and if there was a whiskey dinner, well, someone would get a whole stack of whiskeys and someone would prepare a menu and you'd have the two together. And there was very rarely any thought to actually pairing and matching.
Yeah.
And it was probably, in this country at least, it was certainly Franz Schurer who was the first to say, well, let's actually taste the whiskey, let's taste the food, and then I'll start the sentence again. Franz was the one who would taste the whiskey and then go away and prepare the dish that would actually dovetail with it. And so, the whiskey dinners were around for a long time, but they just happened to be a dinner that served whiskey. The actual pairing and matching is something that probably came along, I'm going to say 2004, 2005, when it really hit its straps. That also coincided with when Whiskey Magazine had, I'm embarrassed to say, I've forgotten her name now, the French lady who used to talk about whiskey and food matchings, and it took off from there. But it's been just a fantastic space to be in.
Great comment here from Dan, who says, I know we're supposed to be the slow drinker, but what dram should we pour next? If you're pouring a dram next and want to jump ahead a little bit on the queue, you could pour any society whiskey at home, of course, but the next one in the lineup with some special guests after the music will be 48.132, which we'll be getting to shortly, which is my segue to say, chaps, thank you so much for the chat. We've got some live music just about to start, so I need to move over to that screen in just a moment. Before I do, just a quick reminder that I've got some huge prizes to give away tonight. Don't make me drink them. So this is the Advent calendar, valued at $399, 25 whiskey samples in that box. I'm giving one of those away to someone who joins the society tonight. Use the code VirtualPub on the website. That gets you a discount off membership, plus you go in the draw to win that tonight. I'm giving that away tonight, which is kind of very cool and very real. I'm not keeping that. I'm also giving away an SMWS hip flask valued at $70. That's going to be to one of the best home setups posted with the Virtual Pub 22 hashtag going on tonight. And I am giving away a bottle of 148.2 Kirsch Me Quick for the whiskey quiz later on. So stay tuned because we've got a whiskey quiz coming up. It's 10 questions. First person to get most of those 10 questions correct will, of course, take home a bottle of 148.2 on the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society.
Matt, just very quickly, thank you to Muzz for reminding me that that French writer was Martin Neuer, and also I can also see in the chat here Simon McGoram, who of course was Katie Naga's predecessor. So Simon, good to see you, mate. Good to have you along.
Good to have you
And
along.
Matt, just before I sign off, I'd just like to say, obviously, hello to all the Melbourne viewers of Virtual Pub. You'll be experiencing a lot of good events this year, so keep an eye on everything that Matt and AD put out in terms of publications. We'll try to keep you posted, but a lot of exciting things ahead. I know you've had a rough time. During lockdown, we promoted this pub as a way to connect. I think we love the online as much as we love the in-person now. Just it's a way to keep connected, but we'll certainly be back to in-person. I look forward to meeting everyone in Melbourne soon. Absolutely.
Okay, well, let me just bring in the team. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Tom. I know it didn't really work out for us this time, Tom, but we'll catch you up for another live stream soon, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you, guys. Let's see how we go here and see if we can bring the Pocket Trio in, and we'll keep the chat stream going just for the moment. See how we go here. 1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Hey, how are we going?